Welcome back, my reborn FamBam. How are you guys all doing today? I hope you guys are having an amazing day or whatever. So today I'm going to be talking about adopting and adoption of a teen that we were going to adopt. We were in the process. We went to get an attorney. We were going to adopt a 13-year-old girl, and that didn't happen. And this is the reason why I started to purchase my first realistic silicone baby doll. So yeah, that's why I have a doll channel. And I did have another channel that was J Girl Beauty, FamBam with makeup, and I did other stuff on it. I started off with story times and caregiving for my grandpa, and a lot of people had enjoyed my videos. I did all kinds of stuff on my channel as well. But anyways, if this is a trigger warning and childhood trauma that affected my marriage, and for me not to be able to reverse my tubes and have kids, click off, and I will catch you guys on the next one. This is about childhood trauma. This is about adoption. This is about infertility, that I couldn't have kids, and why I purchased a silicone baby doll. But if you can't handle the trauma or handle any of this because it's fresh to you, or but if it helps you, then I would like to have you guys listen. If not, and you it's just a trigger warning that if you can't, just click off the video, and I'll see you on the next one. So never forget, Te Amo Mushisimo. Welcome back, my reborn FamBam, my dolly friends, my makeup friends, whatever. I used to have a channel on J Girl Beauty MUA. So I went to cosmetology school. I learned how to do makeup by watching tutorials, and now I'm here now. I do a lot of co-play videos. I do a lot of stuff. Like, I never knew that I would fall in love with makeup as much as I did, and know that I was an artist that I never knew. God brought it out in me when I started doing makeup. So I draw my face too with makeup as well. But anyways, let's jump into this. I haven't done a makeup look in forever. There's a lot of people that really aren't into makeup. There's some people that are. I'm into makeup. I'm into doing hair. I'm into all that. ASMRs, mukbangs, reborn babies, all that good jazz, and cooking. So I had a lot on my channel before, and I want to do that with this. And if I get a lot of followers again, I will split it if I need to. But as for now, I'm just going to go ahead and incorporate in this video. Anyways, on this channel. So we're going to jump into this palette right here, because I haven't used this palette in forever. Kind of feel like I need to pump this chair up. Hold on, guys. Okay, so I'm gonna try to, I'm a shorty. Okay, there you go. I'm gonna talk about, hopefully I don't cry. I'm gonna try not to. I already primed my eyes with P. Louise base. It's 2.5, I think. Wait, 2.5, rumor 2.5. I used 2.5 in the little bottle or whatever, and I put some powder on top. I don't know, I've always done it. It helps with blending. It doesn't get so like splotchy for me, so I do that. I know a lot of people don't. But anyways, I'm gonna be talking about us adopting a real life kid. About, I think she was like 13 years old. So we went through the process. We had an attorney. We were going through everything, okay? A lot of people ask me why I have reborn babies, why I started buying them. Like personal people, like my family, my friends. Well, why don't you adopt? Why didn't you adopt? Why did you buy a baby? Why did you buy a silicone baby doll? There's adoption, there's this, there's that. Why? Why ask why? I have it on my channel. Why? Why not? Because I struggled with infertility. is it called infertility? And I wasn't able to have kids, so I wanted to start having, have another kid after my daughter was a year apart, I believe, because I didn't want my kids to be so many years apart, because my sister and us, me and my older sister, we were 11 months apart. And it made it hard because she was 6 years younger than me and my sister, and she always wanted to hang out with us, and we couldn't. I think one time we were cruising Central, because I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm Hispanic. And she always wanted to come with us, and we got pulled over one time, and the cop was like, you need to leave them at home. And I was like, yeah, her and my cousin went with us, and they wanted to hang out with us, but come on, you can't. There's a 6-year difference. So I kind of wanted to have my kids like right there, like not so much years apart, because it was hard. So with that being said, I didn't have that because I was struggling with having more kids, so I never got pregnant, and my periods were really weird, you guys. So I'm looking for my makeup brushes, which are right here. So I really struggled with that. So I couldn't have kids. My periods weren't the same. They weren't coming all the time. And I started having periods, I think, when I was 13, going to freshman year. No, my middle 7th grade, 8th grade, something like that. I don't know. I was about 13, I'm thinking. 13 years old when I started. And so I had him all the time. And then all of a sudden, I grew older. I was having periods, and then they would not come in a month. Sometimes 2 months, sometimes 3 months. And then when I would have it, it would be longer than a week. And so I was wondering what the heck was going on. So I never got pregnant again because I wanted to have another kid with my daughter's dad. And that never happened. So I was wondering what was going on, because I had my daughter, but I wasn't getting pregnant again. So there was something going on. So I struggled with that for a while, and the doctor was, anyways, I was struggling, and so I struggled with infertility. I couldn't have kids for the longest time. So the doctor gave me a CAT scan, and when I was asking him, and they were wondering what was going on, I'm going to use a Singe Beauty brush, and we're going to go into Roses, the darkest color on the palette here. And I'm going to do a halo eye, but slanted instead of another one. So, instead of going, you know how most people go like this straight up, I'm going to go slanted. I got this from, what's her name? What's that girl's name? Heather England. And I'm recreating her look with this palette as well. And so, what was I saying? Oh my goodness. And so they gave me a CAT scan, the doctor, and they didn't find anything. So okay, so what's going on? Still? So he was still wondering like what was going on. So then he ended up saying, well, since it didn't show up, nothing showed up on that, how about I send you to get an MRI? And I was like, oh my goodness, I was claustrophobic. And I didn't like all that. So there's a machine that takes your body in there and then your head. And I was always scared that that thing is going to fall on me and I'm going to die in there and suffocate. And so they had to give me volume to help me calm down and relax me. And once I was in there, they ended up coming back with my results. And they were like, well, here is your problem now. We found something. And so when he talked to me about what was going on, he told me that I had a pituitary macroadenoma tumor, which is benign cancerous, and it was already big. It was as big as a golf ball, right? And so that was pretty big. So it sits right in your pituitary gland, which is right here by your nostrils. And if it grew any bigger, it could sit down on my chiasm and make me blind. So, oh my gosh, guys, I was terrified. And it's already big, right? And they don't know what it was caused from, but they said that it could be hereditary, it could be in the family. Well, I found out that it was in the family. So, it runs in the family. So, anyways, so now they're telling me that's the reason why I haven't been able to get pregnant again. And the other reason is because when you have those kind of problems and you have a tumor, he was telling me that I would never have kids again, that I was done having kids. So I was like, wait, what? You're telling me what? And he's like, yeah, you'll never have kids again. Like, there's no way you won't have kids. And I'm like, okay. So there was that. And so I struggled with that. I was hurt about it. And next, you all, we're going to go in with Petal, which is this lighter shade right here. And we're just going to go on the top there. And so, yeah, so I was like, okay, so no more kids. That was a struggle because, like I said, I wanted more kids and I wanted a kid to be like not so many years apart. So, okay, I came to terms with it. After a while, it was hard that I would never have any more kids, you know? So I went around a little bit depressed, a little bit hurt because, like I said, I wanted more kids. So there was that. Now we know why. And then they were saying that it's hard to have kids, especially when you have a tumor and stuff like that. And then, you know, you could either become blind if it sits on your chiasm and make you become blind and stuff. So there was that. And so now we found out why I couldn't get pregnant again. So I ended up breaking up. Well, me and my daughter's dad were together for 7 years, but it was like a friendship bond that we were together if, you know, we would sleep with each other, you know, I don't know, we lived together. So that made it different because we lived with each other for 7 years. I lived with his mom, I lived with his dad, stuff like that. So yeah, he helped me, I helped him, me and my daughter lived with him. So that was our situation. And anyways, I ended up meeting my daughter's dad after a while, and we got together, my kid's dad, I mean. And so we ended up getting together, and we wanted kids. And I told him, well, I'm sorry, I won't be able to do that because I'm not having kids anymore. I can't have kids anymore, so. And so I told him, you know, that I wouldn't be able to have any kids. And he was like, okay. He was, I think at first, you know, he was like, okay about it. He was fine with it. He was young. We were 6 years apart. So yeah, we wanted kids, you know. Don't we all? Some do, some don't. Some people do. They just consider that they're not gonna have kids. So yeah, it's hard to do makeup and talk at the same time, y'all. I just came to terms that I wasn't having any more kids, and you know, he wanted some, but whatever. So we were in the impression that we weren't having any more kids, any kids. So he kept telling me, yeah, oh, so we went about our business, whatever, life was whatever. He was 6 years younger than me. He was really young. I didn't find this out. He lied to me about his age. I didn't find out he was that age until we were together for a while. Next, we're going to go in with Thorn with a pencil brush. And we're just going to put it on the bottom here. And so I thought he was as older than what he told me. He was not. So I found out later. So anyways, we were together, whatnot, and it was like 2 months in that we were started to date and stuff, and I ended up getting pregnant. The doctor calls me one day, and he's like, do you want the good news, or do you want the bad news, and do you want the good news? Which one do you want first? And I was like, well, let's go to the bad news first, and then we'll go to the good news. So he's like, well, the bad news is you have a UTI. And I was like, oh, okay, I can deal with that, whatever. And then he comes back and he goes, and the good news is you're pregnant. And before I got pregnant, my ex-husband used to say, well, you're pregnant and you're pregnant with twin boys. He kept telling me. And I was like, no, I can't get pregnant. And he's like, well, you're having my twin boys, he kept saying. And I was like, no, I'm not. And he's like, yeah, you are. And that's what he kept saying. And I was like, no, that is not happening. So what I'm going to do today is she put some white. I think she had put it on before and then she had taken it off. Something like that. I'm just going to put it on this white stuff so it could show more. Yeah, that's what she did. So I'm going to use this Danessa Myricks. We're going to just put a little bit right there. And we're going to either do my finger. And so they were like, you're pregnant. It was beyond me because I didn't believe my ex-husband. He was like, you're pregnant. You're having my identical twin boys. You're pregnant with twins. And I'm like, I don't know. You're lost. I'm not. And so then when the doctor said I was pregnant that day, I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. Okay, we're going to go into Wilted. Yeah, the green color. And it's going to come together after. At first, you're going to be like, it doesn't go. Well, it comes together after. So we're going to put the green on this side, and then we're going to mesh it together. And I just couldn't believe it because the doctors were just saying that I would never get pregnant and don't be expecting to have kids. And then I'm pregnant, and God said, you're going to have kids and it's going to be different. I mean, the doctor said you can't, but I'm going to show you that you can. And he got me pregnant. So anyways, I was just like, I couldn't believe it. And I still don't think I believed it until I was getting big, until my stomach was getting big. And so I got big pretty fast this time because at my first time with my daughter, I didn't show for a very long time because I was so thin. I was 95 pounds. And so there was only one baby, one heartbeat. And my ex-husband kept saying, you're going to have twins. You're going to have my twins. You're going to have twins. I don't care what the doctors are saying. You're going to have twins. You're going to have twins. And I'm like, no, I'm not. It's only one baby, one heartbeat. And he kept saying, I'm having twins. And I was annoyed with him already because I was like, I don't know what you keep saying. I'm not having twins. And I was like, there's only one heartbeat, only one baby. And he kept saying, well, you're having my twins. You're having my twin boys. You're having identical twin boys. He kept saying, okay, whatever. So then the doctor, I was weighing different. My stomach was measuring different. So the doctor had me get an ultrasound done. And when she did that, she was like, you are having twins. And I was like, no, I am not. And she was like, here's twin A, here's twin B. And I think I almost fainted on that bed, guys, when they told me that. I was like, how is that happening? Like, what the heck? I couldn't have kids at all, and now I'm having twins? That was crazy. And so I got pregnant with identical twin boys. Okay, what I'm going to do is go in with Blossom and put it on the top. And I already put my glitter glue on. So it's this shade right here, Blossom. We're just going to go on the top. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Wow. That is beautiful. And And then she also went in with like a stunning color, and I hope I have it. It's like a little pink, so it's gonna come together with the pink on here already. Okay guys, I'm back. I just finished doing the makeup look. I did everything off camera because this is gonna be a long one, you guys, and I'll probably put that one up and then this one depending on, because it's pretty long. Okay, so you guys, a lot of people always ask me, why did you get a Reborn? Why did you get a silicone realistic baby doll? Why didn't you adopt? Why did you buy one? Why do you have them? Always why? Like, there's always adoption because they want to see you with the real baby, you know? And this is the reason why, okay? We were in the process of adopting a child. So after I got pregnant with my twins, my tumor grew even bigger. So it was after I had my boys, I was supposed to go in for another MRI to see how big it was. Well, when I ended up going in, while I was pregnant, my tumor grew bigger. So they did an MRI while I was pregnant and it grew bigger. It was 10 by 9 by 10 millimeters big. Well, now I'm pregnant and it grew to 11 by 14 by 11 millimeters big. So now they're worried. They want to do surgery, but I'm pregnant right now. So they're waiting until after I have my boys. So now they're waiting for after I have my boys give birth so they can get my surgery done. Well, in the process while I'm pregnant, I don't take my medication because it was getting me sick and they weren't sure if it was 100% good for me to take it while I was pregnant having my boys, so I didn't take it. I put it on top of the refrigerator and I was like, I'm not going to use it. My tumor could grow back even taking medication, and it shrinks, and it could come back after surgery. It could make me paralyzed, it can make me be a vegetable, or it can make me become blind. And it could sit on my chiasm at any time and make me become blind if it's big, you know? So with all that being said, I did an MRI after I had what was I saying? So after I had my boys, I went in to do another ultrasound, and it shrunk. So they never called me. I called them. They said my tumor was shrunk and it was 0.5 centimeter big and I didn't need surgery anymore. Okay, so now let's get into adopting a baby and why I purchased my first silicone realistic baby doll. So after I had my boys, and even when I was pregnant, I just couldn't believe that I was pregnant. I was just like, I couldn't believe or accept, I guess, that I was pregnant. I'm gonna put this up. And so I just couldn't believe that I was pregnant. And they were like, yeah. I mean, and so I had my boys and whatnot, and even after still having the tumor or whatnot, I just couldn't believe that I was pregnant because they said I would never have kids, right? So with my ex-husband, he made me, after I had my boys, like a month or so after, to end up getting my tubes tied. And I kept telling him, no, I didn't want to get my tubes tied because at the end of the day, I wasn't ever in love with my ex-husband. I didn't want to marry him. He told me that I would fall in love with him. I never did. And so I always wanted that option to be able to have more kids if I met someone else or, whatever. And so he was like, no, we already have, our set. We have 2 boys. You have your daughter. We're a blended family. We're fine. Let's not have any more kids. We're going to stay together till we grew old and died together, right? Well, that never really happens, right? And so anyways, I did it. I didn't want to. So I did that. And I met my husband after we split up. I met my husband 1.5 years after. I think we we split up. I mean, we got together when it was, my divorce was final, which is funny. And then in 2 or 3 months, me and my husband now that I'm with now, we got married. And we always wanted kids. My husband only has one son, an only child, and my husband's an only child. And I had my identical twin boys, and they were like 10 when I met him, and my daughter was around 18. And so yeah, all my boys, you know, my kids were already there, and then I had my tubes tied, and we always thought, like, you know, prayer is wishing and it's going to be a miracle and you're going to have kids. Well, that's not how prayer works. Prayer is prosecco. You don't wish or say that you want something. You don't ask God. It's God's will. If it's His will to give you a baby or whatever. So the thing that we should have been doing is me reversing my tubes, which I could have done then, and then having a baby. Well, we never did, because we prayed for a long time, like a year or two, and everybody said you would have kids again, and no, I never did. Never got pregnant. So my sister was trying to adopt this girl that her mom was on drugs, and she was living with her and stuff like that. And I would go and see her and stuff. That little girl. Oh, okay. You hungry? Okay. And so these are the bottles. These are the bottles that I made into miracle bottles. So the concept is every time she drinks, it'll leak into that. And it's supposed to be bubbling and going into there. I sealed the bottle pretty good. Showed the bubbles too much. So I'm going to use her breast milk one that I bought from Britisha. Oh my gosh. I got this from Britisha. She makes the disappearing milk. She sealed it pretty good, so we're just going to use this one. So, anyways, my sister was trying to adopt her or whatnot, and so I had known this little girl since she was little, right? So my sister used to have them over and whatnot, and I think her mom used to let my sister claim her and stuff, and she would watch these kids. And so her mom ended up getting her kids taken away because she was on drugs, she was on heroin, and so my sister was trying to adopt this little girl and whatnot. And so she had came to my house to tell me that, she was staying the weekend, and she told me that my sister's husband was touching her and stuff. And I have gotten my uncle when I was 11 years old, so I told her that she could stay with us for the weekend, and we would call the cops and let them know. And she was saying she was scared and she didn't want to go back to my sister's house. So at the time I believed her, because also I gotta put this in here too, is because my mom was telling me things too, and I believe that, you know, he could have, you know, you never know. Men are men. Women are women, you know. There's women that do that to kids too. So I called the cops. The cops said she could stay with us, and then they didn't make her go back, and it was a big old thing. Me and my sister was fighting and everything because I was telling her that she had said what she said, and so she was ended up staying with us. And so when CYFD had came and talked to her and stuff, and the police, they were asking her questions, and she said that he had touched her and he was touching her butt and stuff. And so after all that had happened, CYFD told me that it would be in our best interest to adopt this child, or to adopt her, so they wouldn't take her away, or, you know, it wouldn't be such a big old mess, right? And so at the time I was like, I didn't know for sure, like, okay, but you know, for sure, like, to keep this child, because she was already older, she had a lot of problems. I seen how she was with my sister's kids and how jealous she was, and how she would almost like throw my sister's kids and stuff. And I used to tell her, but everybody never listens to what I have to say until they see it for themselves. And even when they see it for themselves, they don't care. Like, it's not a big deal, so whatever. So all of a sudden, I told CYFD girl when she came by to talk to me, I told her, you know, like, I don't want to go through with like the adoption. So I asked her, you know, if I can send her back to that place, to CYFD, and for them to find someone for her. And she was like really talking to me into just doing it, just to adopt her and whatnot. So okay, so we had her and we start, you know, talking about it and whatnot. And I told, you know, my husband that they said, you know, just to go ahead and try to do it, because that would be best, because she knows us, and you know, stuff like that. And CYFD, it's hard to find someone. And CYFD, and it's hard to find someone, you know, for these kids or whatnot. So anyways, we ended up keeping her. She stayed living with us for a while, and then we started going through the process. We hired an attorney and everything, and everything was fine. Like, it was okay, everything was fine, nothing was going on. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if I seen things like things that I don't think that were appropriate. You know, she was only 13 years old when she started staying with us, and there was a time where, you know, my husband and her, I mean, we're at Walgreens and she's jumping on him, and you know, and she don't really even know my husband that well, you know, and stuff like that. And I was like, well, you shouldn't be doing that, you know, and stuff like that. I was trying to tell her, because it just started to let me know that I need to be aware of things. Because when I got molested, my aunt told me I provoked my uncle to, I provoked my uncle to do what he did to me. And so, you know, I just didn't want the jumping. I didn't want all that playing around thing, because at the beginning, she didn't know us. We didn't know her. And then after she had said, you know, that my sister's husband was touching her and stuff. And so anyways, that didn't really bother me or whatever, but I was like, just, you can't be doing those certain things, you know. So we go on, everything's fine. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to I think maybe she starts going to school and stuff like that. So we're taking her to school, and then I would take her, and then she would do just things that I didn't feel like were appropriate. She was throwing popcorn on my husband's genital area. She would laugh, and the dog would eat it off it, and she thought it was funny. One day she got some wieners, some hot dogs, you know, and threw it on my husband's private part, and I was just like, I would let it slide the first time, because I wanted to make sure that I was seeing things right, and, you know, making sure that I wasn't just freaking out, right? So then she would do it again, and then I would say, you know, you need to stop doing that. That's not cool, and that's not appropriate. And so she stopped or whatever. And then I guess it was when one day she was telling me that her and him had went to the store, and they went to the grocery store, and he had touched her face or something. I guess she had something on her face, and she's told me that she didn't feel comfortable with him touching her, you know, stuff like that. But that wasn't the part where my PTSD came in effect and started affecting my life. I didn't even know people had PTSD. I thought it was only military people, but I realized that, you know, I guess you get it from the trauma that you had to endure, right? Well, I had been to counseling for a while, but they made me stop going to counseling because they didn't want me to tell them that my uncle's name when I was about 13, I think, 13, 14, something like that. No, 15 years old when I finally told them that my uncle did that. And so I only went for a while, so there was no one I could talk to or anything. So when she started telling me that he was freaking her out and she didn't feel comfortable by him doing all this stuff, you know, it was like I talked to my husband and I told him not to do that anymore because she wasn't feeling comfortable with him doing that. And so I was going to school. I was going to school to get my cosmetology license. And so we were going to counseling and stuff. We were going to counseling too because they told us to go ahead. And so when we got an attorney, we were going through the process and everything. And I was just like, at first, I was like, okay, you know, maybe we can do this, you know. But I wasn't 100% like, yeah, we should be doing this because I already knew how she was. I knew she was already a manipulator. I knew that she was a liar. I knew what kind of a person she was since she was little, until even when she was living with my sister. So I just knew that it was going to be hard. So we end up, she ends up going to school and stuff, and sometimes she used to get like jealous about my son and stuff, and I would get upset with her and I would tell her, you know, how she needed to act and not to be jealous because those are my sons, and she's you know, a girl and our daughter, if we were gonna adopt her, you know, later on, and just not to feel that way because everybody's the same, like get treated the same. And so while I'm going to school and stuff, she tells me one day that my husband is checking her out, and she was going upstairs to her room because we homeschooled her after, and we were homeschooling her, and she said that he was checking her out when she was going upstairs to her room. So this girl is telling me things, and so I start to notice that it seemed like my husband was checking her out. I don't know, I'm not God, I don't know if he really was or if he wasn't or not, but when I would ask him, he said no, that he thought of her like his own daughter because he's always wanted a daughter. So, so now we're going to counseling because they say to get counseling because it's going to be good for us, it's going to be good for her. So we start going to a counselor, and there's the one counselor that told me to be very careful because there was a couple that was going to her, and they were adopting a little girl, and the dad ended up girl, and it messed up their marriage, and they separated and they got a divorce because of all of it. And she said, you know, be very careful, and you need to be very careful with these kind of children, you know, because her mom was a heroin addict, so they've seen a lot of things, I'm sure crazy stuff, you know, for the gist of it. I don't know, she said she had gotten her mom's boyfriends or something like that. I don't know if that was true, but anyways, so she tells me that, okay, and so now I start noticing like my husband's checking her out or looking at her, and I don't know, it just gives me a vibe, a weird vibe, that I'm starting to see something that is not right. It's not cool, right? So one time we were in Lowe's, and I seen her put her hand on his hand while he's pushing the basket. And so they told me that that didn't happen, that I was just freaking out, and it was my trauma that was making me hallucinate. And then I was getting a migraine, and after I did get a migraine and I started seeing blurry, so they started to say that it was probably that, and I was seeing things and that wasn't happening. So after all that happened, what happens? So now I'm freaking out, right? So now I'm starting to see, like, even on camera when they were doing things on outside and stuff, and just like, I don't know, I was always worried, like, if you provoke a guy, he might do something, you know? So when they were doing it, maybe I was in the wrong. I don't know totally fully, my mother instincts could have, you know, let me know these things. I don't know for sure what was going on, but that was that. And then I started to know that my trauma affected me, and my PTSD affected me, because I didn't talk to a lot of people. I didn't talk to a counselor later, but not that long, of everything that was going on with me. I suppressed a lot of things. I didn't talk to anybody. I held a lot of stuff in. And so at this time, you know, we're older and stuff. I'm with a new guy, my husband. I don't know how he was. He was pretty good to my boys, you know, and they're boys. Yeah, anybody can be a male, it could be a female. But this was different. And then knowing that I had gotten molested at 11 years old by my uncle, and them saying, my mom and my aunt saying I provoked him to do what he did, you know, you just want to be cautious. You want to be aware. This girl's 13 and she's growing up and stuff, and you have a man, and you can't trust anybody. You can't trust your uncle, your dad, anybody. You just can't in this world. So we start going to counseling, and the counselor even tells them that since I've been through all my trauma, that when I'm at school, they shouldn't be around each other or hanging out with each other. Only when my husband needed to help her with her homework and her schoolwork, because we were homeschooling her, that they could talk and be around each other. And then after that, she needs to, you know, stay in her room, or if she needs to eat or whatever, and then staying in her room until I got home. So she tells them that. They said that, okay, they, you know, they'd understand that. So I even asked my husband one time, I was like, can you like leave? Because I only went to school 3 days out of the week, and it was from 9 to 8 I think. So I left at 8:20 and got to school at 9, and then I got home like at 8:30. And so he couldn't even do that. Like, there was one time he did, but then he was like, well, why? This is my house, you know? So he ended up staying there, whatever. And I was like, oh boy. So now I'm trying not to let all this affect me. So I literally ask him, like, when I'm at school and you guys do things, at least call me and let me know, so I'm aware that you guys are together, and, you know, I'll be. Also, guys, I was all over the place. This was really hard for me to do, and it's been like now 7 years since all this happened, so it was hard to remember everything. But when I said in there that we didn't know her, I meant my husband didn't know her at all. I knew her. I've known her since she was little, when my sister used to take care of him and watch him. And then when I would go visit my sister, I seen what she would do to her kids and how she was acting when she was there. So I knew a little bit more, but my husband didn't. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. I just wanted to clear that up. And also, when I said that my sister's husband was touching her, she said she just meant like not touching her in her private parts, just like touching her on her butt, she had mentioned. So I just wanted to throw that out there.